You're listening to Three Kitchens podcast, hosted by your favorite home cooks, Erin Walker and Heather Dyer. Join us for inspiration and a new recipe every Tuesday.
Hello.
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 Hey, it's Friday morning for us, and this is how we get going around here.
Yeah, we just say hi a few times to each other until it sounds right. Hello.
That's
Hello.
right. Hello.
Hello.
But most importantly, hello, listener.
That's right.
We're so happy you joined us for another episode of Three Kitchens podcast, where we are cooking, talking about food, trying out recipes.
Getting inspired.
Yeah, we're like that little cheerleader in your ear when you're planning your dinner or you're cooking, and we're like, yeah, you can make that.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Beef Wellington is possible. Make it happen.
Oh my gosh. Now I want to eat that. It's been a
I
while.
know. I just came back from the grocery store, which means,
You're hungry?
oh boy, do I have some ideas for things I'm going to cook. And I'm just hungry. So,
Well, is any of it Mediterranean inspired? Because that's what we're talking about today.
it is.
Oh, good.
Absolutely. Because this episode, man, oh man, I loved our conversation.
Our guest today, her name is Gloria Molist. She is the founder of an olive oil company in the States called Olivo Amigo.
Yes.
They are online and they ship within the United States. So sadly, we can't order her products, but American listeners, please check her out, see if it's something you'd be interested in. She's here to talk about not just olive oil, but also a Mediterranean diet.
And the Mediterranean lifestyle. Oh boy. I could convert. I'm a willing convert right now.
You want the 3-hour lunch.
I want it
And
all.
olive oil on everything and fresh vegetables and
Croissants for breakfast. Yeah.
for sure.
She was a joy to speak with. She had so many fantastic antidotes about the Mediterranean diet. She gave us some really good tips and advice about purchasing olive oil. And I have to say, I'm disappointed in my current olive oil that I purchased.
Oh.
And I guess I'm not surprised after what I've learned from her. So next time I will make some better choices when I'm at the grocery store, for sure.
Well, there's a lot to kind of be aware of, and there's a lot of differences in olives and what they make it out of. And so that affects the flavor and the quality. You know, she shares some tips for buying it and storing it, and of course, cooking with it and serving it. And one of the things that she recommended, a quick little recipe, is pan con tomate, which translates to bread with tomatoes, which is literally what it is. You're going to make a nice piece of toast. You're going to rub some garlic on there. You're going to shred a tomato or like grate a tomato, mix it with olive oil, sprinkle some salt, put that on your toast. It's like the most basic thing. But if you have fresh, yummy tomato and a nice piece of bread to make your toast, it's something, and this is what she says, if you have good quality ingredients, down to the olive oil, you don't need a whole lot else, really.
No, things that I love about what she taught us is that if it's just good quality stuff, you can keep it really simple and enjoy it so much more than anything else. She's not wrong. Let's put it that way.
Sometimes simple is just delicious.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there are no Mediterranean recipes and dishes that don't get kind of complicated. I'm very sure there are. But today we're talking about sort of simple approaches to how you can bring the little aspects of the Mediterranean diet into your everyday diet, no matter where you live.
Yeah. Keep it simple, keep it fresh, and you won't be disappointed if you buy good quality food.
Enjoy this conversation, and if you can, please go and support Gloria and Olivo Amigo.
Yeah. Well, hi, Gloria, and welcome to the podcast. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you, ladies. I'm really excited to be here today with you.
We're excited to learn more about the Mediterranean way of cooking and eating, and olive oil specifically, which is an interesting thing. We would love for you to tell us how you learned to cook and how you started this journey into olive oil.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Spain. In Spain, happiness happens around the table, right? Like food is like such an important element in our culture. Everything again happens around the table, like, and it's funny because when someone comes to Spain, we have like 2 hours lunch and then we have what is called sobremesa. That means like we're going to stay for another hour in the table chatting and having coffee. My husband, when he came, he's like, more? I mean, like we have been eating for 2 hours and now you're saying sobremesa, another hour. But thank God my father gave him the green card. Like, if you need to go. It's too much for you.
That's cute.
No. Yes. He's like, okay, you just don't say nothing. Just stand up and leave. It's okay, everyone. It's going to be okay. So, and actually not just, I don't think it happens in Spain or in the Mediterranean diet. I think all over, like a lot of times when you have a first date, you go to have dinner, right? Or have lunch. When you meet your friend, you go out for dinner, like even business, right? You go for a lunch meeting. A lot of things happen around food. Food is a really important element. And that's how I grew up. So I came to the US to work and study, and I was here. I met my husband. We dated for 7 months, but my visa expired. So I moved back to Spain. We did like a 1.5 year long distance relationship. So I decided to come back and we got married. So when I moved here, I mean, back in Spain, like, right, like at home, parents cook, like everyone cooks at home. Even like when you go to restaurants, food, normally it's like homemade. Even like when you stop in the middle of a cafe or restaurant or a gas station on your trip in Spain, the restaurant, it's homemade food. And they have a menu, it's $10 menu. First, like a starter, a main course, dessert, bread, wine, or a drink, $10, €10, right? And it's homemade food. It's really good food. I love it. I'm like, I miss that a lot. So when I moved here for 6 months, I couldn't work. I couldn't study. I couldn't do nothing. So my life just stopped. So I got into cooking. That's what I like and I enjoy. So I tried to find the same products that I have back in Spain. And of course I couldn't. So, like I couldn't find the same quality ingredients and especially olive oil. So just to give you a perspective, in Spain, being the size of California, we produce more than 50% of all the olive oil in the world.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Wow.
And the US only produces 5% of all the olive oil we consume. That means that 95% of this olive oil has to be imported. So in 2010, we did a study and they showed that 73% of all the olive oil imported into the US have been adulterated, or it's fake, or it has gone bad already, right? So the quality of olive oil here is not as good. So that's when like I started researching and I'm like, oh my God, I have to do something about this. Like that's when you find your call in life. I'm like, everything comes together, right? I love olive oil. I come from a country where we produce a lot of it, and I saw a great opportunity. So I already had a lot of connections, right? But I decided to go deeper, become an olive oil sommelier, because again, like my goal was to bring high quality olive oil to the US and to educate people. So I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you.
What is an olive oil sommelier? Like, what exactly does that mean?
Olive oil is like wine. It has different notes, different flavors, different profiles. And olive oil, in order to be labeled as extra virgin olive oil, it has to go through 2 tests. One is a chemical test that it will show the acidity of the olive oil. And the other one is an organoleptical test. That means the smell and the taste. That means that every extra virgin olive oil, in order to be labeled as extra virgin olive oil, it has to go through this test. And that means like a panel of experts in olive oil, they will sit down together in separate spaces.
Okay.
And they will all have to test the olive oil to try it. And all of them have to agree that it's extra virgin olive oil. If not, it cannot be labeled as extra virgin olive oil. So that's what like an olive oil sommelier, they're experts that they're able to understand if an extra virgin olive oil is good or not. Wow, that's a lot. Extra virgin olive oil for me is the healthiest fat in the world. And you have to make sure that whenever you're consuming extra virgin olive oil, that's the best. So as sommelier, we make sure like, we understand like the production of extra virgin olive oil. We understand the profile of the extra virgin olive oil, if it's rancid or not, right? Like what it's better to pair it with. Also forgot to mention like a good, what we talk about the organoleptical test that extra virgin olive oil has to go through. A good olive oil has to be a bit spicy and a bit bitter. Those are the polyphenols, the natural compounds that extra virgin olive oil has, the health benefits that they're anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. If you feel like your olive oil is a bit peppery and spicy, and bitter, that's great news.
So is this done before it's exported?
Yeah, it has to be labeled already as extra virgin olive oil in order to be exported.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Like, so the country where it's produced, they should be like the ones that take it to test. Right.
Okay.
In Spain, we have the Olive Oil Council. That's where, like, in Spain, they will send it there and they have labs and they will like test it for acidity. And then, like a panel of experts will have to try it and categorize it as extra virgin olive oil, or olive oil itself.
Okay. So what's the difference between an olive oil labeled extra virgin and one that's just olive oil?
So extra virgin olive oil compared to olive oil, it's extra virgin olive oil. Again, it has to have a certain acidity and it cannot have any defects. An olive oil, it's an olive oil that has been, normally it's mixed. So whenever we're done with the olive oil harvest, whatever is left, it will be the olive oil that it doesn't have the acidity grade in order to be consumed by humans. So it will go through the same process as canola oil goes, that it's like they refine it, right? So it goes under chemical processes in order to get rid of the smell and the taste of it. So basically they clean the olive oil.
Okay.
So what they do, they mix this refined olive oil and then they mix it with maybe 25% or 15% of virgin olive oil or extra virgin olive oil, that it's going to be the oil that it's going to be give the flavor and the smell to this new oil.
Okay, interesting.
Right. And the difference between extra virgin olive oil has to be an oil that it has been produced without the use of chemicals or any heat.
Okay, so I think that seems quite obvious then, that the healthier oil is going to be the extra virgin olive oil. So when, as home cooks, when we are shopping, that we should be looking for extra virgin. Is there anything we need to know when we're shopping aside from what the label says?
My goal is to educate people, because it's really hard to choose a good quality olive oil just for the packaging in the store, because here they don't give you the information needed in order to make that decision. So you go to the store, first thing would be to look for opaque bottles. The biggest enemies of olive oil is heat, light, and oxygen. When you have a bottle of olive oil that goes like in a transparent bottle, maybe even when that bottle was imported or when that olive oil was produced, that it goes into the shelves of the supermarket for 2 months, that light can make the olive oil get bad. Right. So even like if it was good when it arrived to the store, the fact that it's under the lights for like months can make the olive oil go bad.
Right.
Thing number 2, it's important to know when the olive oil was harvested, because a lot of times what they tell you in the bottles is when the olive oil was bottled. But maybe it was bottled 2 months ago, but it was produced 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's tricky. That gets really tricky. So I always recommend know when your olive oil was harvested. Again, like the good thing about olive oil, olive oil doesn't get bad. You can have a bottle of olive oil for 10 years. You still can consume that olive oil.
Okay.
But what happens is that it loses its flavor, it health benefits, right? It's going to be a rancid olive oil, but if you need to cook, you're not going to die. It's okay.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
It is important, right? You can use it. Then I also like to look for olive oils that they have been produced just in one country. Because if you have an olive oil that has been produced in Spain and it has been produced in Greece, that means that they have been produced and then they have come together. So you don't know when each one was produced, right?
Right. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And it's even worse because sometimes you will see bottles in the supermarkets that they say that they have olives from Spain, Greece, Chile, Argentina. Chile, Argentina, they're in a different hemisphere, right? So their harvest is 6 months apart from ours. So that means that you're, again, like mixing olive oils that they have been done with 6 months apart. And you're refreshing, actually, it's what you're doing, refreshing one olive oil with the other. And again, like then it's going to smell better and taste better because it has been refreshed with new one, I will say. All extra virgin olive oils should be cold pressed. If it's not cold pressed, it's not extra virgin olive oil. Thing number 1. Thing number 2, first press. That's like a term of like, I don't know, even before my grandparents, that's when they didn't have machines. So they will put rocks,
great.
metal, and they do like 8 layers of those and then they press. And that's how they will bring the olive oil. So the first press, of course, because the metal was clean, it was super yummy. And then it stopped being that clean. Again, this was like, I don't know, even before my grandparents. Up today, we use machines. So cold press and first press, They are like terms that they're not really telling you any important information.
Okay.
But that was important too.
Sneaky.
And as well, also like try to see which olives they use for it, just because it's good to understand what you like and what you don't like, right? Because again, as I mentioned, olive oil is like wine. Each olives have different profile, different taste. Some olive oils are more stronger than others. Some ones are better maybe for baking because they're softer. Others they have more intense flavor, so it's better for like maybe like a finishing olive oil. So it's good to understand what you like.
I had no idea. Aaron and I are both like, what?
I was like, olive oil comes from an olive. I never thought that there were multiple types.
Maybe I'm wrong, but like around maybe 800 different types of olives.
Oh, wow.
So each one can yield a different type of olive oil with a different profile. For example, like a Spanish olive oil, they have notes more of like tomato compared to an Italian olive oil that they have more notes of almond. So they're a bit sweeter. Okay. So it depends. Like for me, I'm a salty person. I prefer to eat a whole plate of French fries rather than a piece of cake, right? So I prefer the Spanish one because it's more tomato based for me and I prefer it. But someone prefers maybe almond, right? That it's more like sweeter to the palate.
Oh, so what are the most common varieties of olives?
So picual is the most common variety of olive oil. I would say like maybe 50% of all the olive oil that is produced is picual.
Okay.
Really, it's a Spanish variety and it's a really stable variety. That means that it stays the same for longer time, which is more positive because it's not going to lose the flavors and the properties as faster as other olive oil.
Right.
So that that's one of our varieties. Joy, it has picual olives.
Okay.
So you have, our listener can't see, but you have showed us a couple of bottles. Why don't you tell us about your olive oil and how you came to develop Olivo Amigo?
Yeah, so when I came to the US, I really miss home and I really miss my food. So I decided I was going to bring my extra virgin olive oil. I decided to work with a family farm that has been passed down for generations. They're like maybe the fourth or fifth generation that they have been producing olive oil. They produce olive oil in small batches. So the quality is really good. And our olive oil is early harvest. So the harvest of olive oil goes all the way from October to March.
Oh, okay.
And olive oil that has been produced between October and November, it's early harvest. And it's when the olives are green. And it's when they have all the health benefits and all the flavors, right? It's like the highest quality of olive oil. The taste, the smell, like it's crazy. And the good thing is that the olive oil stays fresher longer because since it's full of the antioxidants makes the olive oil stay fresh longer. The olives start getting ripe. It's when they start getting older and then they don't have as much flavor, as much health benefits and properties, right? Also, the things like an early harvest extra virgin olive oil is more expensive, but because you need much more olives in order to produce a bottle because the olives are green and they don't yield as much olive oil as an olive that is ripe.
That makes sense.
So that's how it's produced. Our olive oil is early harvest. We have two varieties. One is called Joy that has picual olive oil that we talk about it. Picual olive oil, it has notes of grass, tomato, artichoke, and almond. And it's a bit more stronger. It's more peppery and bitter than Vitality. Vitality is our other variety that is done with Nevadillo olives. And they have notes of olive leaves, tomato, fig, and apple. And it's a bit more softer than Joy. So those are our two varieties that we have.
Nice. We're a little bit sad being in Canada that we can't buy your products here. Hopefully one day.
Yes.
You'll get here. Hey?
Yeah, I would love to.
That'd be awesome. We hope that all of our American listeners will look you up and give it a try. Your packaging is also really beautiful. It's the kind of bottle that you don't mind having on the table or like on the countertop. It's really lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So when I designed the bottles, I wanted to make sure that they really represent the Mediterranean. So the bottle is white because it represents the houses, like the white houses in the south of Spain. The tree, they have the mosaic. The mosaic, it's a really important element in the Mediterranean, and especially for us in Spain, because we have a really famous architect called Gaudí. He was the first one in using the mosaic. He wanted to represent the natural forms of earth into art. And he did Parkway. It's a really famous park in Barcelona. It was like above my mom's house where she grew up.
Oh, wow.
So we will always go and it's gorgeous. And so I make sure I wanted to do like the tree, and I wanted them to represent the colors of the Mediterranean, the water, the countryside. So that's what I wanted to represent with them. And again, like a bottle, as you say, like put it in the table and they decorate. You don't put it away when someone comes.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a difference between like a plastic bottle versus a metal container versus glass?
I would prefer not to put my olive oil in plastic. So that's how I am. I think like the olive oil doesn't get conserved as good in plastic as it does in glass or tins. Tins are really good as well, a really good way of conserving like extra virgin olive oil.
Okay, good to know. I was just recently at the grocery store debating whether I buy the big glass jug or the big tin of olive oil. And I usually go with the tin. So this time I tried the glass. So we'll see.
These are great. Okay. A way of conserving olive oil. Yeah, but glass is good as well.
Because the tins are pretty big. Can't put that one out on the table. Here, pour some, drizzle some oil on your...
Exactly.
All right. Should we take a break and come back and talk about Mediterranean cooking and lifestyle?
Perfect. Yes.
Let's do that. Hey, listener. Thanks for tuning in to our fun chat about Mediterranean food with Gloria. We just have a quick little note for Apple iPhone podcast listeners. And you listen to your podcast, if you're listening now on the Apple Podcasts app, if you've recently updated your iOS, which is the iPhone operating system, you will not automatically have your podcast downloaded if you don't have enough storage on the phone. I'm not sure what that threshold is, but if you tend to, like me, have a ton of photos and videos and apps, you might not be getting your most recent episodes of your favorite shows appearing in your downloads on the app.
No way.
And it goes for all podcasts. It's not a Three Kitchens podcast glitch. It's all the shows you love.
You didn't do it.
No, we didn't. We did not. That might be an issue for you. Just a little heads up.
Okay. Well, now that you know how to get your favorite podcasts, back to this episode.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this as we were planning to chat with you, and to say Mediterranean, it feels like a big geographic area. How would you define Mediterranean if we're talking about cuisine or diet?
It is hard. It is hard, but like, I mean, what I'm more familiar with would be like Spain, Greece. For me, those are the top two countries, Mediterranean. I will go with France, probably Italy, and then Turkey. You know, we're really mixed. You know, we are all by the Mediterranean water, that we have great land, great water to fish and all that. But I will say like real truly Mediterranean for me, in the Mediterranean that I know, that is Spain and Italy, as I said, and France and Greece. The most Mediterranean diet countries with the most Mediterranean diet would be Spain and Greece. Okay. We have a really variety of like a diet. And again, like imagine like Spain, we're the size of California. We basically produce for ourselves. So food is really fresh. Get fish, get meat, get veggies. The food I buy in America between the food I buy in Spain, like in Spain, food tastes a lot. Here sometimes it's weird when I buy a tomato and 3 weeks later it looks the same in my counter. I'm like, oh. Right.
I almost get worried when my food doesn't rot after a while. I'm like, that's exactly for too long. That should be bad.
Exactly. Anyways, so for me, the Mediterranean diet, it's like a variety of diets with like fresh products. You know, we have in Spain we eat a lot of salads. We love salads, but also like when we eat salads, the greens, we do it with like salt, vinegar, and olive oil. That's our dressing. When you sit in a restaurant in Spain, that's what every table in the restaurant, like they have vinegar, olive oil, and salt. And that's my goal. That would be my dream, to see that in America. You know, sitting at the table for a restaurant and having like a bottle of olive oil in the table. That would be like,
right.
I can die in peace the day that. That would be awesome. We eat a lot of meat, cured meat and fish. We drink a lot of wine too. But you know what, like Spain, we were named by Bloomberg, I think of 2019, before the pandemic, the healthiest country in the world. And we're set to have the highest longevity rate, even above Japan, in 2040. And it's because all the healthy fats that we eat included olive oil, almonds, and things like that. We have a really diverse diet. That's, I think, is really good.
Right. How much sugar? Like how much do you have for sweets?
We do have sweets, but I think like the type of product that we use, flours or like sugars, I think like the way they're processed, they're different. In Europe, we have much more strict regulation when it comes to food.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So maybe when we do have sweets, a lot of times they're homemade, but at the time of like, even like bread, we have bakeries. Like in Spain, we buy bread every day in the morning, and we eat bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You don't even use a knife sometimes. You use a piece of bread as a knife to like push.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have like we clean our plates with bread.
Absolutely.
But it's fresh. It comes from bakeries where they also have sweets, croissants, or small, like sweet bites. But again, I believe like they're not produced for like a whole supermarket. There are small mama and papa shops where they produce that day what they're going to consume. So again, I believe that what they put there is much more fresh. I mean, I'm not an expert, but that's why I will say like that's the difference.
That definitely makes sense. I even notice we have family in the States, and when we visit, just comparing products that we get at the grocery store in Canada compared to the US, it is very different too. Everywhere is got different regulations. It's interesting how, like you mentioned, that your vice is salty things rather than sweet things.
But I have to say that when I go to Spain, I love to go have my croissants in the morning. I will have my salty breakfast, but I always buy my 2 small croissants because I love those types because they're fresh. My mouth is watering. Yeah, like so fresh and good.
I have been to Spain a couple of times, and even as a tourist, that was my experience of it as well. It's all very fresh. And I mean, anywhere you go in Europe is different than North America, where we have these big supermarkets. And, instead you go to the butcher, you go to the bakery, you go to the fish store, you go to the veggie market. Like it's just a different way of shopping and preparing food.
Something that I would love to share as well about the Mediterranean diet, because I just remember there is a big misconception that people have about olive oil. People think that you cannot cook with olive oil.
Yeah, I've heard that actually about the smoking point or something with it.
Olive oil has one of the highest smoke points. And it's completely fine to use olive oil. That's what we use for frying, right? Like, and we only cook with olive oil. I mean, don't let the olive oil burn, which if it happens, it's okay. You're not going to die either. It's okay. And it's much healthier than any other fat to cook. Also, because when you're frying something, that piece of food, it opens and then the olive oil gets inside. And again, we're talking about like the health benefits that olive oil has. Now it gets transferred into your food. So the conception that extra virgin olive oil you cannot cook or fry with it, no, it's completely not true. And I think it's really important for people to know.
Yeah, that is good to know because we do hear so many different things from so many different sources. So
exactly. And again, it's like all we do in Spain and the Mediterranean probably, and we're alive.
It's proven its test for time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we have been going on for a long, long time, and we're still here.
Living proof. It's all fine.
Exactly, living proof.
So how can we, as North Americans, since we're not moving overseas anytime soon, unfortunately, how can we incorporate this sort of diet and style of eating and cooking in ways that we can make it work here?
A lot of people think that eating clean or fresh or healthy can be really hard and boring, but it's not true. If you use the correct ingredients, food, it's literally awesome. So, and that's like using good quality olive products. If you have a good olive oil, it completely changed the experience with the food. Like it really elevates flavors. A good vinegar, good spices. The spices they have to be your best friends with olive oil. Like they're so good. They can make food so fun, right? That you have to experience and to experiment with it. And they're a mix of, they're called elevate, and they have minced garlic, minced onion, rosemary, basil, oregano, marjoram, and red crushed pepper. They're like a celebration in the mouth. They make all food fun. It doesn't matter. Like no, it really is like a pasta, a bit of olive oil, spices, and a bit of parmesan. And you have their 4 ingredients. People get crazy when I cook them to them. I'm like, and it takes you 5 minutes. It's simple. And you use right ingredients, best meal. You don't even need to go out. Then another tip that I love to do is like, for example, salads. I love salads personally, like the flavor, everything. But I know sometimes it's hard to eat a salad. We're not used to. So you want to eat a salad to eat clean, but okay, let's try to make it a bit fun also, right? I told you in Spain we eat salads with olive oil, vinegar, and salt. But I love ranch. When I moved to the US and I found like ranch sauce, I'm like, wow, I can drink this. And sometimes I do, like if I have it, it's and everything. So when you have a salad, my advice, my recommendations will be like, take the salad like 10, 15 minutes before from the fridge before eating it. And when you're going to put your ranch, what happens is like you have the lettuce there, it's cold even, and then you put your spoon of ranch and then you start moving stirring things. Mm-hmm. The ranch normally stays in the leaf where you fold. It doesn't go anywhere else. Like it doesn't move around the salad. So at the end, what happened? You ended up putting all the bottle of ranch. So at the end, rather than be like a salad with ranch, it's ranch with salad.
Yeah.
My advice, put olive oil first in. You put a bit of extra virgin olive oil in your salad, stir it, and then go ahead and put a spoon of ranch to it and stir it again. You're going to see how that spoon of ranch goes all over the salad.
Okay, I get it.
And then think about it. Right when like someone comes like, hey, I'm going to give you a massage. You're like, great. Can you use olive oil or something like connect, like to, it's the same, like food wants love as well. And you have to connect with it. So olive oil is a connector. At the end, like give it a bit of love to your lettuce first and then add whatever you want. And it's going to get all over and it's going to massage the food. And then again, the experience is completely different. That will be my advice. Like try to use fresh ingredients and experiment with spices and different flavors of vinegar or even like your olive oil. You want to do it more fun, just get your extra virgin olive oil. The night before you're going to cook a pasta or you're going to marinate something, put it on a glass, put a piece of garlic, let it there, cut your garlic, put it in, and then you have your own infused olive oil with garlic that gives its flavor for whatever you're going to be using later, like garlic bread.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's really good idea. I've never done that before.
Because you don't need to infuse a whole bottle of it. You can just do a little bit of it.
Just what you need.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun way.
It's like a pizza olive oil. If you're going to do a pizza, you want to add like a bit of spiciness to it. Again, a bit of garlic, and a bit of like cayenne or whatever like you want it. So you make it fun and let it sit for like a couple hours and then you will see how.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I've never thought of that before. You can make little changes like that and then everyone will be like, what did you do to this? It tastes so good.
Exactly. I promise. Like it really changes like the way like those small things. Give love to your food. It's love. Like everyone else. Because at the end, again, things are coming from the inside out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's funny how like people will spend a lot of money into cosmetic products and then they go to the store and they buy like a $8 olive oil. And then like you just spend like a face cream $100. And like when it's coming from the inside out, right? Like,
yeah.
So we are what we eat. Food prevents, medicine cures. Getting good quality products and probably you're going to see a change as well. We're what we eat.
That's right.
Yeah. I believe like when you eat healthy, you release endorphins. When you laugh or when you have sex or when you do sports, like eating. When you enjoy what you're eating, that's other thing, like connect with your food. Because again, when you're enjoying it, your body goes through like a completely different process than when you're like, they're like, I don't want to eat this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And I think we recently did an episode where we talked about feeding picky kids. And I think one of the things that we talked about was if they don't like maybe vegetables, but if it's a fresh vegetable from the farmer's market or from your backyard garden, they're more likely to want to eat it because it just tastes better, right? Yeah. And so you're not just getting the health benefit, but you're probably eating more of the things you should be eating instead of filling up with the things you shouldn't because those good things taste so good.
Yeah, exactly. And your body is like, it's grateful. Like, like.
I want more of that. I want more of those homegrown tomatoes, not those store-bought ones.
Yeah. And even I think as adults, I think sometimes we get trapped into being picky eaters because if we're always eating out and we're not getting these fresh ingredients and fresh foods because we're eating packaged or pre-prepared stuff, it's amazing what, taking the leap and trying a little bit more cooking at home, you might fail a little more often or come across a few more roadblocks, but it really opens up how much flavor and freshness can be in the food that you make and prepare at home in comparison to even just getting a basic pasta dish out at a restaurant versus making it at home it's so much better and so much better for you, I think, just cooking with those ingredients that you know that you've sourced yourself, right?
Absolutely. Like when I told you, like I met my husband, we dated for 7 months. So we were living together for the first time, right? So I was cooking. So he will come from work, he will eat. I'm like, is it good? And he will be like, yeah. And I'm a really like expressive person, right? And I get really excited with food, especially. I'm like, but it's really good, right? And he looked at me one day and he's like, listen, Gloria, I don't get as excited as you do with food. I just eat to feed the machine. And then look at him. I'm like, how sad is that? I told him, I'm like, yeah, I haven't even tried. I'm like, dude, that's really a really sad statement. We have to work on that. You know, like this is what I'm married into. And then like he has been my biggest proof of concept with Olivo Amigo, because the way he loves olive oil, the day I have been more proud of my husband was the day I came from work and he had to stop at the store, bought a baguette. And I arrived and he was in the counter, not even sitting down, in the counter with a pool of olive oil in the plate, like dipping like all the, and even like up to date, like 6 years later, or like his mouth. And like, he would tell me like, he's like, I'm addicted to olive oil or the spices. He's like, these flavors. So like he drinks the vinegar. We have a spark balsamic vinegar too with plums and basil. He will drink it. And I see him like the passion now that he has for the products. But I'm like, see, like proof of concept. And he liked to cook at home before I met him, but he would cook like simple or fast or like whatever, you know, everything in a pan.
Yeah.
And now like he really loved it. Like, yeah, when you use the right ingredients, everything changes.
Yeah. And you can simplify what you're cooking too. You don't need such a long list of ingredients, maybe for some things, if you just keep it simple with good quality ingredients.
Exactly.
Might like it even more.
There you go. Yes.
You never know. It's worth trying for sure. Anyone who's, you know, we get kind of stuck in our little routine of the things we like to make. And that's one of the reasons we do this podcast, because we love to try new things. We like to encourage other people to try new things. And we love having people like you come on and teach us a little something about how we can switch up what we're doing and try new stuff. And so it's really fun.
I love it.
We love hearing your passion and excitement for sharing all about olive oil and the Mediterranean lifestyle and cooking fresh at home. Can you tell our listeners where they can find your products if they're in the US and where they can follow you online?
We're online store, right?
Okay.
So we're in e-commerce, so you can find our olive oil or also like the spices. Some sort of spices we can ship it to Canada at www.olivoamigo.com. And as well, we are on all the social medias. Our handle is your Olivo Amigo. And even like, well, if you're in Canada or if you're in Spain, like what we talk, when you're going to look for a good olive oil, the tips that I give is the best way. But if not, of course, also get to know your brand. Now you know Olivo Amigo. And whenever you buy Olivo Amigo, you know that the product you're going to consume is good. So it should be the same with any other brands you go to consume. So Olivo Amigo, we're online, now our website, our social media, and yeah, we have all our products there.
Fantastic.
Nice. We'll link to all of that in our show notes too. So if you missed that website or those handles, just go check out the show notes and it'll be there. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was really fun. And I think we learned a few things about olive oil that we did not know.
Oh, super informative. I'm going to be looking at every bottle on the shelf. I'll be in that aisle for at least 45 minutes now.
I got to remember my glasses when I go to the store so I can read all that fine print. Yeah.
Yes, the fine print. Exactly. Yes, please do it.
Excellent.
All right. We're going to go and make some tomatoes with olive oil on toast.
It's called pan con tomate.
Pan con tomate. We're going to go make some of that for breakfast. Hey, Erin?
It's really popular in the north of Spain and all over Spain. It's super yummy. You're going to love it. Perfect. I love that. It was great meeting you today, ladies, and chatting with you. And thank you so much for bringing the olive oil knowledge to people.
And now for the fine print. Join us over on the socials. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website at freekitchenspodcast.com. Remember, when you like, follow, subscribe, and leave us a review, it helps more people find us. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to be booking flights after this. Let's just be honest.
I'm going tomorrow, actually. I'm flying tomorrow. I'm excited.